today we're going to talk about negative exponents. So let's first know this simple law about negative exponent. That is, if we do have a negative exponent, we can always put it in the denominator or numerator just for it to become positive. So if we do have 1 over x raised to the negative 3, we can move it into the numerator and it will become positive. So let's work some practice problem regarding those. So here, if we have a fraction and we have a negative exponent, we can just place the fraction inside and that will provide a positive exponent. And we can just distribute the 2 here. That's going to be 4 squared, which is 16, and it's going to be 9. So we can simplify this into 7 over 9 and 1. This should be 1, not 9. So it'll be 1 over 7 over 9. So that's the mixed fraction. Simplified fraction. Now let's try another problem. What if we have x cubed raised to the negative 4? So here we can just easily distribute the negative sign. So that's going to be negative 12, and we can just use the law of negative exponent. So we can just move it into the denominator so it becomes positive. So here, now let's try this coupled problem here. So here we can just use the law of negative exponent. We can move it into the denominator so it becomes positive. Now we can just simplify this. So we got 1 over x raised to the 5th power. So here this is just like earlier, but we have a coefficient of 4. So that's going to be 4 squared. And we have negative 5 times 2. That's going to be negative 10. So we got 16 on the numerator. And we can just put the x raised to the negative 10 into the denominator. This x raised to the 10. So that's the answer. Okay, how about this one? So here we can just move y raised to the negative 3 into the numerator, so it becomes positive. So we got 5 plus 3, that's going to be 8. So that's going to be y raised to the 8th power. Okay, now we have this both negative in the numerator and the denominator. So what we can do here is move the denominator into the numerator. It's going to be x raised to the negative 8 plus 4. And we can just move it back to the denominator. So around this one, so we already know what is it going to be. Anything that is raised to the 0th power is going to be 1. So we get 3. Now in this one, we can just arrange some variables. Move it into the numerator and denominator. So that's the answer for this problem. It's 3 raised to the 3 times b raised to the 6. And we got a raised to the 4th power times c raised to the cube. C cube. Now, how about this one? We have quantity squared times quantity cube. Okay, so we have, we can just distribute the 2 right away. So we got negative 4 here. We have 3 times 2, that's going to be 6 times. We can just distribute the 3 again. So that's going to be 4 cubed. And we got x raised to the 5th. And so that's going to be 5 times 3, it's going to be 15. So we have a variable y, and we got negative 6 times 3, so it's 18. Now we can just simplify this. 3 squared is 9, y raised to the 6. We can move this to the denominator. And we have 4 cubed, that's going to be 64. And we keep this, and we can just move y raised to the negative 80 to the denominator. And now we can just multiply this. So that's going to be 64 times 9 is around 500. 576. And we can just simplify this. We can cancel some terms. So we get x raised to the 11 and y raised to the 11. Okay, so this is it. So this is the simplified function. Now let's try this one. We can just here arrange some exponents. So 45 can be broken down into 9 times 5, and we can just move the denominator to the numerator. So that's going to be 7 plus 4. And oops, that's too much line. We need a straight line. So we can just break this down into 9 times 3, and y raised to the 6 plus 5. We just move it into the denominator so it can be positive. We can cancel 9 here. So we got x raised to the 7 plus 4 is going to be 11, and we have 3 y raised to the 11. So this is the final answer for this one. Simplified fraction. Now let's try this one. This one is massive. So we have 18a cubed. And we can just broke down it into 6 times 3. And let's use this line. So we get 6 times 5 here. And here we can just move the a cube into the denominator. So it's going to be 7 minus 3. And b, and we can just move this to the denominator too. It's going to be positive 4. And c, we can just move into the numerator. So we get 9 minus 6. We can cancel 6 here. So we have 3c cubed and 5 a raised to the 5th power and b raised to the 9th power. So this is the final simplified fraction of this problem. Now let's try this one last problem. What we got here, we have a big fraction. So 63, we can break it down into 7 times 9, and we can put a line. And 35, we can just break it down into 7 times 5. So x raised to the negative 3, we can move it into the denominator. So that's going to be 8 plus 3. And we got 7, negative 7. So we can just move it into the numerator, leaving us with 7 plus 4. And here we can move negative 5 into the denominator with 5 minus 4. So that's going to be squared. We got 7, so we got 9y raised to the 11. And we got x raised to the 11. We get c. And we still have squared. Now we can just distribute the squared here. So that's going to be 81. And y raised to the 22. We have x. This should be x, not z. C is still c. And we have x raised to the 22. And we also forgot 5 here. There's supposed to be 5 here. So that's going to be 25. Also forgot that z is going to be squared, but I'm gonna leave it like this. There's a problem while solving it. So that's going to be 81 y raised to the 22.